All right, again, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Right Worshipful Brother Mike McCandlish to the Newark 97 podcast studio. Right Worshipful Brother McCandlish is a member of Lancaster number 57. He's currently the Deputy Grand Master of Masons in Ohio. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike to tell us a little bit of his accolades and just your story.
Well, I started out in Lancaster Lodge in 1977 as a DMLA. I was Master Counselor of Fairfield Chapter in 79, Representative DMLA in 1980, and then I was still active with my chapter until graduation from high school, because I had 19 other guys from my graduating class that were in my DMLA chapter with me, which was crazy. We were a big DMLA chapter in the state of Ohio. Then, college and getting married and having a family, things slowed down, and I didn't return to the fraternity until I was 40. And I petitioned my lodge, and the biggest regret I have in life is my two signers of my petition. One was my grandfather, who was raised in 1958, my dad, who was raised when I was in DMLA in 79. They were my two signers, and I was received and accepted into Lancaster Lodge in December. My grandfather passed on New Year's Eve at 10 o'clock at night, and he never got to see me be initiated. And for that, I wish I had started my journey sooner, but he knows. Initiated, passed, and raised in late January through early March, and started out as junior deacon in my lodge. And I was master of Lancaster Lodge in 2011. I was president of the 13th District Association in 13, became a DEO in 13, 14, and 15, took a year off. And in 17, 18, and 19, I was District Deputy Grand Master of the 13th District. I thought I was done. All I ever really wanted to do was be master of my lodge. I thought that'd be the coolest thing ever, to be master of my lodge. I never saw things coming that came to me. It was in 2020 when COVID hit, and we had an unfortunate passing in our Grand Lodge line. The junior Grand Deacon passed away in July, and early August I get a call from the Grand Master, and completely floored me. I didn't know what to say. I had about 3 days to make a decision because he had to fill the line, and so I served as junior Grand Deacon in 20, and here I am today. I'm a member of all the York Rite bodies in Lancaster. I'm a past sovereign master of my AMD Council. I'm a Shriner, National Sojourner, the Grottos, Aladdin Shrine. I'm a member of most things at this point, but more than anything else, it's just proud to be a brother.
And we're happy to have you here. And that is one heck of a meteoric rise from taking a pause to how quickly everything progressed there. That's
I retired out in Marietta at Jess Rain's year, and that was in October of 2019, and then by July, August, I'm back in the game, and I really thought I was done. I was just going to focus on my Scottish Rite stuff. I was coroneted at 33rd in Indianapolis this year, which is an incredible honor, and it's inexplicable that whole week that we were there. But I just thought I was going to focus on my Scottish Rite work. I had no idea what laid before me. And so, my lodge has a very distinct history of past Grand Masters. Excuse me, please. In 1824, Charles Sherman was the first master of Lancaster Lodge, and he was Grand Master in 1824. The next year, there was a Grand Master from Lancaster Lodge by the name of William Irving. And then William Reese followed him for 9 years as a Grand Master. And then M.Z. Kreider served for 2 years. All of these were between 1824 and the Civil War. So there were 4 past Grand Masters. There was also one other who made it to Deputy Grand Master in Ohio, then moved to Arkansas and ended up becoming Grand Master of Arkansas. So, but technically, I will be the 5th Grand Master, if so elected, that will come out of Lancaster Lodge.
That's a really incredible legacy of Grand Masters in Ohio right there. That's
Well, yeah, keep in mind, these are guys who saw Masonry through the Morgan affair
yeah.
and the anti-Masonic movement, and they kept it alive. Most Worshipful Brother Reese was the first Scottish Rite Mason in Ohio, and he is credited with saving Capitular Masonry in Ohio. There's so much history there. I was installed technically in my house by Most Worshipful Brother Newton, and the Grand Chaplain was there, Tom Jenkins at the time, and the rest of it was done on Zoom because we were in COVID. So the one thing that was, and I've said this before, but it's important, when they put the collar on my neck, we wear, I had my deputy's jewel and I had my master's jewel, and when they put my collar with my jewel as a junior grand deacon around my neck, the first thing I noticed was, man, this jewel's heavy. And those were my thoughts in my head.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I went, this is heavy.
Yeah, I was gonna, not to be rude, but
Yeah.
can I interrupt? I'm curious if you meant, is it that it was physically heavy or the gravitas of that situation?
When it first went on, it was that physical, wow, this is heavy. And I heard, I may have said it in my breath. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, yeah, dude, this is heavy. It's very heavy. But it can be daunting. When Becky and I were making the consideration whether we wanted to join this journey and accept Most Worshipful Brother Newton's offer, it was very daunting because the last Grand Master from my district, and we're what they call an at-large district. You have 5 big districts, and then the rest of the districts in Ohio are at-large districts. We hadn't had a Grand Master since 1962, and he was out of New Lexington, Dan Jenkins. We don't know anything about preparing for this kind of journey. And there was, you're given a monetary goal that you have to hit because there's an expense you had to have. My district really didn't have funds for anything like that. Like many districts and many at-large districts, we had, maybe $6,500, $7,000 in our total district funds. And, I had to raise $60,000.
Wow.
And
That's not a small sum of money.
No.
no,
What kind of time frame are we talking about?
I'll start spending that money now.
Wow.
So really you've got, because I only served 2 months as junior grand deacon. So I really came in, I lost that year. So I had 6 years, basically I've had 5.5 years to prep. I can't thank my district enough. They really came together, and Becky and I have done things, and we've hit our goal. But when we were sitting there and when that was shared with me, that it's about what you got to raise, I could feel Becky's hand was on my knee, and then when that came in, I almost felt the claws go into my leg, and she said, whatever you decide. And I knew it was all on me. And you talk about a leap of faith, because I didn't know how my district was ever going to pull this off, how I was going to pull it off. And I said, let's do it, because I could see the opportunity to help our jurisdiction change and grow and move the meter and get people involved. Not that they weren't, but I just think, sometimes you need some invigoration. We've all been in lodges with past masters that sit on the sidelines, but in as younger Masons, you get a little frustrated, please don't do that. I thought, I'm going to have the opportunity to be all over the state and affect change, because people are going to watch and they're going to listen. And so the discussions on the way home were interesting discussions about what all we were going to be able to do and see and experience. We had no clue. We really didn't. I've been in so many towns in the state of Ohio that I never knew existed. I've seen all of Ohio, and I get to go back to all these places because we've made so many friends, so many tremendous brothers that work so hard, and I can't wait. I get to see them a couple times a year in at Grand Lodge, but when I get to go back, it's like time never passed. You just saw them yesterday, and you're spending time together. And there's some incredible Masons all over the state of Ohio. That, when you walk into any lodge that you've never been in before, and you feel right at home, it speaks a lot to the type of people we are.
No, I completely agree with that. I think I felt at home every single lodge that I've ever visited, bar none. Whether it's here or going back home to Indiana with my dad, always felt just at home, and I think that's part of the brotherhood. I think it's one of the special parts of it.
Back it was Grand Lodge. We were in Dayton, so it might have been Most Worshipful Brother Kaler's year. It might have been prior to that. But I remember Job's daughter, speaking, and she was speaking in front of 1,500 men, and she told them, she said, what's beautiful about the Masonic fraternity is I was traveling, I was in an airport by myself, because she was flying to what other state, and she had her computer and she had her bags and she needed to go to the bathroom, and she saw a man sitting there who had a ring on, and she recognized the ring immediately. And she went over to him. She said, "Can I leave my stuff with you? I have to go to the bathroom. I really don't want to take it in there." He said, "Absolutely." And she knew that she could leave her things with that Mason, be able to go to the bathroom and come back, and that nothing would happen to that. And that was earlier in my formative Blue Lodge years. That impressed me.
I've heard several of those, not identical, of course, but even people traveling the world, where they'll see a taxi driver, maybe in a rougher part of the world on vacation or something, and all of a sudden things are just a little bit better. They know that they're in good hands, and that's something that I love about this fraternity, is the fact that there is that. Because we have a little bit of a barrier to entry, it's a good one, of course, around character, right?
Absolutely.
But because we have that, it's not a leap of faith so much in a stranger, right? You have that initial trust that you can grant.
That brother knows that you're vetted.
Right.
I mean, I had an experience actually similar to that with one of my student employees a couple of years back. They saw the ring, they saw my ring and asked, "Are you a Mason?" And I was able to answer, "Yeah, I am." And come to find out, their father had been a Mason, but he had passed. So it was nice to have that connection with, the widow and orphan of another Mason, and be able to help guide them where they needed that at that time. So, it's a really cool experience to be able to, to see that come to life.
Yeah. Every Mason should wear his hat, his ring, his shirt, wherever he goes, because we do stand out, and that's part of opening the world's eyes to us. We can do so much with just our actions and being a good person, and they may not know that we're a Mason, but they go, "Man, he's a good guy." But once they realize that the reason is through our chipping away of our ashlar, if you will, that people go, "He's Mason too." Unfortunately, we don't do a great job of being visible to our communities, and that's one of the things we really have got to focus on as a part of the change. That we've got to open our doors and let people come in, have open houses, as frequently as can. We've got to break that stigma, if you will, because everybody thinks we're secretive. Well, we have our secrets, but so does the school board. You can't just walk into a school board meeting. You can't walk into a business board meeting. It's no different. We keep our administrative business to ourselves and our degrees to ourselves. But after that, we want to be a part of our communities. Our communities need us. The world needs us.
It's almost serendipitous that you're speaking about these things, because not all that long ago, one of our brethren here at Newark 97 had some polo shirts made up that we're distributing, selling back to the brethren, just so he can recoup his costs. And it probably wasn't even 48 hours ago, another brother brought up within the officer chat group that we have that, you know, we should be wearing something in the way of square and compass when we're out and about, not only, you know, to show the world our good deeds, but also to remind ourselves of our duty to the outside world.
Absolutely. The world and our communities need to know that there are people who do want to take care of others, not only just our own brethren, but we care about our communities too.
I mean, it's like I tell a lot of our young guys too, especially as they're coming up through their degrees. It's okay to talk about it, you know, with folks that you know. I mean, be proud of it. It's something to be proud of. It's an accomplishment to get through, you know, the EA, the Fellowcraft, and the Master Mason. Talk about that with your friends, your family. It's okay. Be proud of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, we went through a long period where, you know, the 2B1 Ask One was our rules. I mean, if we couldn't solicit anyone. Well, now it's okay to if you know somebody that is, in your opinion, worthy of consideration, talk to them about it. The moment that they crack the door, say, yeah, I love my lodge. I love what it does for me. It gives me sanctuary. It gives me education. It gave me a great education as far as operating business meetings and being comfortable speaking and growing all of those traits that leaders need to have. But if a guy says something, we tell them what it means to us. And then they can make their decision. Obviously, we're not doing anything more than that. Interestingly enough, when I was in my 20s, Dad asked me, says, "Are you going to join the lodge?" Because, you know, he became a Master Mason when I was in DeMolay. And I said, "Dad, you know, we just got married. We bought a house. I've got to take care of these things. Kids come along. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. It was expensive because we lived on a tight budget." Dad would ask, and I'd say, "Dad, it's just not time." And he stopped asking. Now, my dad had broke ranks. He was asking me to join. And he could have gotten a lot of trouble for that. But, you know, here in the last 5-8 years, we've made the decision that it's okay to let people know what it means to you. We can't hand them a petition, can't badger them, none of that. That is in our Constitution. We can't do that. But by our code, we can say that we do enjoy this fraternity, and we need to do that. We need to be the salesman. And that goes into, you know, when you have candidates in progress in the lodge, it is so important that your lodge culture is strong. You can't create any negativity, and you've got to have something there. Give them something. That's where we're struggling right now, in my opinion, is that lodges just seem to operate. You know, it's funny that I was driving to work last week, and a commercial come on the radio, and it starts out with a little boy. It says, "Dad, let's go throw the ball." And Dad says, "Not right now." And then his older son says, "Come on, Dad, let's lift some weights." And I just don't feel like it right now. Then wife says, "Hey, the kids have gone to bed, you know?" And he says, "No, I know." And it's a commercial for low T. And I went, holy crap. I think we're suffering from low something because we just seem to, in many lodges, just go to read the bills, read the minutes, go home. And that's not what anybody who joined this fraternity wants to do. We have, you know, we promise to make you better, but are we doing that? And so there's lodges that have got to, they got to look in the mirror and say, we got to offer more. We've got to be interesting. You know, Grand Lodge, we try to give educational programs and guidelines and things to do it and equip lodges to do that. But the lodge, every lodge experience is local. That's Freemasonry. It's in your lodge. It's in the lodges of your district. They've got to take the initiative to say, all right, let's bring in outside speakers. Let's have a guy talk about woodworking or talk about beekeeping or talk about antique, whatever. Doesn't have to be a Masonic subject. We bring somebody in, funeral planning, financial planning, anything that benefits your membership, but keeps them interested, and let them know that, hey, we've got avenues to help. But if we can do that, and you increase the fellowship, have meals before, don't have meals so much after, but have something before to share with guys, and you got to involve families, because too many times wives don't know what we're doing, so then they get itchy because we're not home. We need to do a better job of involving our families with things. Have a Christmas party, decorate cookies, involve them in something more often, because when they're happy, they're more likely to say, hey, don't you have lunch tonight? You got to be too, and kind of help prod along.
Well, and I think we're also like a 5-generation organization too at this point. You've got 5 different generations that are really participating. So how do you connect with all different generations, knowing that each generation is looking for something a little bit different?
Right. Yeah, every generation is, but we can't exist on one model. It has to be everything across the board, so it's got to interest everybody. When I was a DEO, one of the first things I did, my DEO talk, one of the first ones I gave was, I made everybody stand up that was in the lodge room, give their name, tell us where they worked, how many kids they had, and what their ages were. And amazingly, I had more guys come up to me and say, I never knew that about so-and-so. And I'm glad you did this, because I kind of work in a similar field, but we just never talk. When I go into a lodge room, I shake everybody's hand. Doesn't matter where I am, what lodge I'm in, what conference I'm at. I go and shake everybody's hands, because I'm making new friends all the time. Break the ice. It can be too icy at times in lodges, because like I say, guys just think, oh, I got to go because we got to pay the bills. That's not helping anything. It's not why we joined the fraternity. It's not why we pay our dues and stay members. We've got to do better.
Yeah, I agree with every word you just said, and I'll own up to my portion of this. I try to do that at my home lodge, but I'm a natural introvert, so when I travel, I'm usually a little bit more boxed in. It's not necessarily how I want to be, but I certainly aspire to do what it is that you're suggesting, and I need to both travel more and put myself out there more and shake those hands.
Man, you learn so much by traveling, and go outside of your own district even. I mean, you see things done differently, and not just the degree stuff, but how they operate, what they've got. If they have a clean building or they have a sloppy building, you learn things everywhere you go. And I would rather travel to other lodges than go to the lodges I've always been going to for all that time. I love those guys, don't get me wrong, and I still want to see them, but I'd rather get out and go to Homestead, or to go to, the drives get longer on this journey that I'm on. Used to be, I thought, man, an hour away? I don't want to drive an hour just to go to a lodge meeting.
That's where I'm at. And we talked before everything started rolling. You and I had a little conversation about capacity, right? And I've got the wife and 3 kids at home, and the oldest is 7. So there's plenty to be done.
That's right. And the family comes first.
Of course, right? That's why I said I aspire to this. I don't think it'll be this year, and it probably won't be next, but it will. Until my number gets called, I'm. Assuming that doesn't happen, I want to get there.
The beautiful thing about this fraternity is the friendships that we make, and they're different than anything else. When you're a kid, you got the neighborhood kids, and you always find one guy that you really like being around. You pal around with him. You hit high school, and he's somewhere else. He's found a different group, and you have high school friends. You go to college, you got college friends. You go to church, you got church friends. You get into work. All of those people along that part of our journey come and go. It's rare that you have friendships that last longer than that. I mean, some do, no doubt. I mean, my best friend I've known since I was 13, but it's a much smaller group. But the thing about this fraternity is there's much more meaning to our friendships, to our brothers, and if you had to be away for a while, when you come back, those friendships still exist. They're still there. They don't ever go away. For all of our life, however long it may be, we've made friends that you're never going to, it's just, as soon as you see them, it's like you've been with them forever. And that's a tremendous blessing in this fraternity. The guys need to understand that if you've got stresses in life or you've got things that are pulling you, it's okay. We'll take you when we can get you. Take care of the things that are necessary for you to take care of. But knowing that you always have a fraternity to come back to, you don't have that anywhere else.
No, I mean, it's so true. I mean, again, I've traveled back and forth to Indiana a little bit. My dad is a Mason in Indiana, and whenever I travel there, I feel like these are friends that I've known all my life, even though I've met them 3-4 times. We just get right back into a natural conversation, and it's really, it's just heartening. It's very heartening.
We've all gone through a degree experience, and going through that's our common bond. But we also know that we've all gone through this process of making certain a good man is coming into the fraternity, not somebody that's unfortunately savory or has, some history that is not acceptable by the fraternity. You know that we've all gone through this together, and I can't tell me how many times I've been a part of father and son raisings, or son raising his father, or all of those. I'm very hopeful. My son, I have 2 children. I have a daughter, Valerie, and her husband. They live in German Village, Marion Village. It's right on the edge of German Village. And my son and his girlfriend live in Lancaster. My son's going to be 30 in January. My son-in-law is 34. And if our Grandmaster this year, he did tip his hat that he's very strongly considering a one-day class. And there's people out there that don't like one-day classes. I'm not one of them. I've got some tremendous brothers in this fraternity that came out of a one-day class, and not against it at all. If I am so elected and we don't do one this year, then next year we'll do one. But I want to get my best friend, who was in DeMolay with me, and he has committed now to come in a one-day class. I really want my son and my son-in-law to come in with Jim all together in this next class, so that they can be at Grand Lodge, if so elected, and sit in my Grand Lodge with me. And my son and son-in-law, I want out of their dues that they come in, so that they will always have this fraternity. They won't have to worry about times that you're going through the car and the couch trying to find enough money to pay the dues. And it's been there, done that, lean times. But I want to make certain that they carry on my grandfather and my father and my journeys in this fraternity, and that there will be 4th generation Lewis's.
That you mentioned legacy earlier. That's a second one right there. Generation after generation. And to be a part of it, right? To see it and maybe certainly be there when they're raised. That's a memory.
Yeah, the tough thing for my son and son-in-law is they see how much time that I'm away, and they're thinking, man, if I have to do that, it's not for me.
But it's not a fair comparison.
No, it's not. And it's the conversations I have with them. Guys, this is what I'm doing. Number one, it's a blessing. What a humbling honor for me to be able to do this, and it is an incredible journey. But for my son and son-in-law, I just want them to be Master Masons, and I want them to maybe someday have that same dream that I had of, I just want to be master of my lodge. Because to me, that was one of the greatest honors.
I can concur with that. I mean, having been the master last year and then being fortunate enough to be reelected this year, it's an honor. It's humbling to be elected by your brethren. And just again, the legacy of, with my family, my grandfather, great grandfather, my dad now, being able to take that certificate of having been elected and show my 92-year-old grandfather that I'd been elected.
Fantastic.
The smile on his face was just, I can't. I don't even have the words for it. You know,
I know exactly what you're saying, because when I asked my grandpa to sign my petition, he cried.
yeah.
Wow.
He told me, and he was 92 at the time, and he said, it meant so much to me to be a Mason. Man, you talk about locking me in.
Yeah.
And you know, I think I didn't know what was coming at me. You know, going through DMLA it's there's structure, there's ritual, there's management. But you're a 13 to a 19-year-old young man at that time. I didn't know what I was truly getting into, to be honest with you, at age 40. But when my grandfather cried, it meant something.
Yeah.
His passing also gave me a tremendous boost. My grandfather, when he passed away, like I said, it was on New Year's Eve. The funeral was the next week, and it was in Logan. My grandfather was from the Hocking County area. And it was at a funeral home in Logan, and that's 25 minutes or so from Lancaster. I'd never seen a Masonic funeral service. Didn't know it was a thing. Just was nothing I ever experienced. And so the day of my grandfather's service, as soon as the funeral itself was about to start, before it, I see all these, and I'm seeing them line up in the hallway, all these men that I didn't recognize, and I see the aprons. He's getting, my dad saw to it that Grandpa had a Masonic service. Every one of those men, and there was 25 or so, and they weren't just from my lodge, they were from the lodge in Logan, Mingo 171, and there were guys from other lodges. They came here for my dad, my grandpa, and me, because every one of them then, when they left after placing the acacia, every one of them came to me and shook my hand. They wanted to know that I was still coming. And that was impressive to me. And I really, that was my first experience with it, and that's one of the things we do publicly that we need to do better, in my opinion.
I was invited to one. The first one I did was probably late 2017, and I was invited by Worshipful Brother Lewis to do it. And I was nervous as all get out, because it is a very somber thing. But I was also incredibly impressed with how well this lodge handled themselves, and how delicate they were with the family and respectful. And again, first one, strangely enough, it was several weeks later. There was a contractor working in a building where I was employed, and he actually approached me and asked me if I had done his grandfather's funeral. He remembered it weeks later as a non-Mason, and I got to connect with him on that level. So it leaves an impression.
It does, and it's really one of the very few services or ceremonies that we do publicly. We do permit our installations to be public. We do funeral services that are public, and we do cornerstones or dedications. That's it. That's the only time the public gets to see us work. And so it's so important that, yes, it is a somber moment, but at the same time, we need to show that respect that we have for the brother. And we've had just a rash of unfortunate passings in this last 2 weeks in my district. But when they're done properly, the families and the friends, they come away with a different opinion. Unfortunately, it's too late sometimes, but boy, we've got to show that compassion, and we've got to show that respect, and we got to do it properly. I committed the B service to my memory, and I did it one time, and I swore right then I will never do it again from memory, because I made eye contact with the family member, and just he was when I was master of the lodge. My lodge's tradition is the master of the lodge gives the ceremony. In my year, I had 13.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah. Well, my lodge is big, and we have a lot of members, but I had 13 my year, and it was like the first time I had to do it. I was like, wow. And the guy that did my grandfather's service had only been installed 3 weeks, and he gave my grandfather's service. I think it's one of those things that we really have to give a lot of attention to. But it's important for the fraternity to be able to portray, and all the respect goes to our deceased brother. That we're there to honor him, and not make any reflections on us. It's all on him.
I mean, and then, again, you talk about the compassion with that, and I always look at some of the core tenets of Masonry: compassion, service, and integrity. And we know that that's what younger men are looking for. How do we communicate that though?
Well, I've been a part of in the conferences of Grand Masters, whether it's in Northeast or the North American. I've been able to see some statistics that Scottish Rite has been driving a lot of this. It has to do with the younger people that are knocking on the door, and sometimes we're not responding fast enough. That's on us. We've got to do better with that. And think about when you go to buy something off of Amazon. If you get the little spinning wheel, you're out and you're going on. I mean, you gave it 5 seconds and you're done. Well, when a guy's knocking on the door electronically, he's looking for an answer quick. And if we're waiting a day, 2 days, 3 days just to say, got your information, I'll be in touch soon, here's my name, here's my number. If we're not even doing that, but the interesting statistic is 3/4 or more of those young men that knock on the door still show a favorable opinion of the fraternity and are still interested. So young people today they're looking for something that we have to offer. They're looking for people of like integrity, like morals, and a place where they can go and grow as a person. Man, what greater place than Freemasonry?
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, having worked with college students for a good portion of my career, I can definitely say that that's exactly what they're looking for. But they're also kind of this generation that's very like swipe, like you said, swipe. And if it's not like, instant, sometimes, putting in that work, I feel like,
That's where it's on us to explain to them, understand that this journey that you'll begin if you become a Mason, it doesn't happen instantly. It's a lifetime of things that change within you. I can tell you that I'm still affected by things every year. But when we come in, we got to give them meat. You can't just give them some raw vegetables because they're going to go away. That doesn't mean when a guy comes into the lodge and you raise him that you say, okay, you're going to sit in this chair or go sit on the sidelines and we'll tell you what to do. You got to know your new member. What's he good at? What's he interested in? What's he like to do? You got to make the connection right away. And you got to find out what his strengths are and what his weaknesses are and play to them. If he's not good public speaking, but he's great with numbers, maybe he's part of your audit committee and you explain to him why you want to do that. Maybe he doesn't want to do that. Don't push him into it. Or does he like to cook? Does he like to play golf? Hey, let's get guys together. Can you just want to coordinate a group of guys to go play golf? My lodge loves to play pool. We now got a second pool table, and they're playing pool a lot. You got to make that connection, because when you do that with the younger guys, that shows them this is the fellowship side of what we do. Degree side, this is degree side. But you got to say, hey, I'm gonna go over to Lodge ABC. You want to go with me? Oh, am I allowed? That's gonna be the first question you get. Am I allowed?
Right.
Well, absolutely, you're allowed. And you're allowed if it's a lodge of entered apprentices and you're an entered apprentice. Come on, you can go. But you've got to involve them and travel with them and take them different places. I'm a firm believer that, number one, as from a Grand Lodge standpoint, we've talked about background checks. I still believe that they need to be done. And the candidate should pay for that. It's not that expensive. It doesn't take that long. And it's guarding our doors. But when we get a prospect that's come through and now he's petitioned the lodge, he's a petitioner, select group of guys. It doesn't and shouldn't always be the same guys, but some guys need to go meet him somewhere and have dinner, have some conversation, get to know him so he knows faces before he ever comes in. Think about that time when you came to the lodge for your initiation. How many people did you know in that lodge room?
Absolutely no one.
I think I was at 2.
I knew, well, my dad and another guy. I knew 2. I didn't know anything else, and I didn't. And the first thing to tell you is, go in the preparation room, and you're going to get ready, and you're like, what did I just sign up for? He's scared to death. But if we take that time before we initiate him and have dinner with him, or even meet him at his house so his wife can meet us, so his kids can see us, so they see the people he's going to be associating with. And I go back to, we've got to involve the families. If we do that before then, and he comes in there, as soon as he's done, those guys go see him, and another group of guys say, hey, next week let's go do something, do whatever it is. Let's go to Tim Hortons, get a cup of coffee and a donut. Let's go down to the pub and have a beer. Let's talk about what you experienced and help you with your catechism. I think if we would spend more time in those phases, those guys are going to stick better than if you just said, yeah, sit on the sidelines, you can watch what we're doing. Nobody wants to do that. People are looking for something to belong to. You got to give them something to do. I will say that forever. I was given the opportunity to sit in a chair, but I was also I had guys say, hey, we're going to go play golf. You want to go with us? Well, I like to golf. So, yeah, let's go. So I started developing those friendships quicker. And I had older, I'm 40, and I had guys that were in their late 70s, early 80s just come over and sit beside me and wanted to know more about me. We've got to communicate better. That goes to the handshake. And if you see a guy, the first guy that I always look for in a lodge is the one sitting by himself. Why is he not engaged? If you watch the room, you'll see clusters of guys that are talking. You see one guy sitting by himself, he's the one you better pay attention to, because he's feeling isolated. He doesn't feel like he belongs. Now, maybe he's waiting on a phone call or whatever. You can ferret that stuff out. But you gotta identify those that maybe we haven't paid enough attention to. We've got to keep that curve going up on our retention.
Yeah, I think retention is actually more the key than even, new guys obviously bringing in, but retention is, I think, one of our biggest, it's one of the things we really need to work on, and, bringing those guys back.
We have talked about it for a long time. There's that lost 30 number that goes back 10 years. We started talking about there's 30% that we just lose. Why? Is it because we're too caught up in our own lives?
Has anyone ever really dug deeper there and probed surveys?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Most Worship Brother Tim Whelan out of the 14th District. He is a statistics guy, and he has been all over all the statistics of all the appendant bodies. He's working on the Shrine now, but he's done Scottish Rite, and he's done all the Blue Lodges. He's doing it for other grand jurisdictions. And it's the data is the same. There's just 30%. So I guess my first question is that 30% lost because we didn't do our job? Or is that we didn't explain what the fraternity was well enough before the man starts his journey? I think it's maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, and that's actually exactly where I was asking, is if anybody had asked the why and maybe gotten those people who had walked away to participate in giving us feedback.
We try that. We have, and we've sent surveys out, and less than 5% of people will even respond.
Less than 5.
Yeah, they just don't want to respond. For whatever reason, they walk away and they're like, I'm done. I'm not talking to these guys. And you got to ask the why. You're trying to figure it out, but they won't tell us. What we have heard is mostly I just didn't feel a part of it. That's on us.
That is on us.
That is on us.
Yeah.
Do we find that these are still dues paying guys? Because, a lot of times you see guys that just drift away, don't come back, don't want to come back, and they still pay their dues.
When we talk about the lost 30, that's typically those that are in either the EA or fellow craft status that come in, get 1 or 2 degrees, and then just don't continue. But yes, you do have. We've got, every lodge has this. Mine is no stranger to it either. We have 250 members and we have 30 at a meeting. It's the same 30. And so there's 220 out there. Now, about 100 of those 220 are over, they're 50-year members or older. And some of them just can't get out anymore. Are we talking to them? Do we have a phone call? Is anybody making phone calls? Just check on them? No. Let's be realistic. I mean, let's step up to the plate and own it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not. And that's shame on us. You can't just send them a dues notice once a year. You've got to say, hey, everybody knows somebody. Look at your membership list. Everybody can see it. We have Grandview. You can get to it. You can provide your membership list to the brothers. Hey, go down this and see, look at these names. You recognize any of the names? If you do, why don't you call them and say, hey, you want to, next month, it's a holiday season. Why don't you come to Lodge with me? I'll pick you up and I'll bring you home. I bet you 30% of them that you call would probably say, okay. Now there's going to be those that for health reasons, for any reason, is going to say, no, I appreciate you. And then, you know what? You don't let the conversation die there. You say, well, is there anything the Lodge can do for you? You know, if they're struggling to dealing with bills, or they're dealing with health, or they're dealing with a house that they can't take care of so much anymore, through our Ohio Masonic communities, we have the opportunity to seek help for them. We've got some beautiful ladies. They're angels. I swear they're angels, because they do so much for people who just reach out, and that's their job. That's what they want to do, is help our brethren. But if we just pick up the phone and call them and check on them, unfortunately, you're going to occasionally get one. You're going to get the wife, and she's going to say, "Well, he passed away 2 years ago."
Yeah.
And those are tough, and you got to apologize. We're so sorry, we didn't know. Is there anything we can do for you? Reach out to your widows, and we just have to be better. And it's a challenge to every. And this is not one lodge or any district. It's everybody. We've got to be better at that.
Yeah, we were actually having that conversation Wednesday night about getting that list out and calling. So it's timely to hear that, because we were just talking about that with our leadership group. One of the charges for the membership committee this year is to start calling.
If you break that down, if you can get a committee of 10 people and give them each 5 names to call this quarter, I mean, you don't want to badger them, and keep a list of who you've contacted and what their status is. Then you call the next group. But it's not these are already members. It's not a retention issue there. But somebody signed a petition for these guys that when they came in, that they just decided it's not for them anymore. They need to call them and say, hey, I had you come in. Sorry you didn't come back. And you have that phone call. You send a letter, most times they're going to throw it in the trash can. They see it's from the Lodge. They see it come. There's people that do that when they see it's from Grand Lodge. They think they're just wanting money. But if you pick up the phone call, it's the same thing if you were putting a committee together to do something and you send them a letter. Well, I never got it. Send them an email. But when you do it face to face, or you do it on the phone, it's a lot harder to get away.
Face to face for sure.
Yeah, face to face, it's really hard to say no, especially if it's Worshipful Brother Lewis asking you to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, 90-year-old Richard Lewis asking you to do something, you're going to do it pretty quick.
Just tell me what it is, Richard, and when it needs done, we'll get it done.
My lodge still gives widows baskets at Christmas time. That's one of the things we do at our December meeting. As soon as it's done, we used to assemble them all. Now we buy them, but we divvy them up and guys deliver them. And usually the guys delivering them aren't necessarily the ones that are always at a meeting. They're retired guys that looking for something to do. And they will all tell you that when they go to see these widows, that the widows light up. They're just so thankful for an orange, a banana, a pear, and an apple, and a card. They're so thankful for that. This is the kind of stuff we need to be doing with our older members, though, too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it keeps them involved in the community.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They still talk to others. They may have a nurse that comes in the home, say, "Oh, you got some fruit? Yeah, the Masons brought me that." Or have somebody that's delivering the mail and the mailman sees us, it's almost we're visible. We're not doing a good job there, and we can do better.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a visibility problem. I mean, we've talked about that a lot of times, I think, at length too. And do you think technology also plays a role in that, or can we utilize technology better for that? Again, thinking of the younger generation and how connected they are to these little devices.
Yeah, go to a restaurant and look around the restaurant, and half the people are going to be on their phones.
Well, to me, I see two arguments here, right? And everybody jump in where you disagree, but we do offer that sense of community, that tribe, if you will, right? And I think that that's what is starting to make younger people interested in us, is that they've gone down the digital rabbit hole, and there is no community there. And what's there is not tight knit. They're oftentimes separated by the large geographic regions, and it's not a tangible relationship, if that makes sense.
No, you're spot on. And because young people are so dialed into it, you've got to direct them to some of the videos that are out there if they want to grow through videos, or if that's how they communicate, that's great. But you really want to pull them in so that they can set the phone down just for an hour. And you got to understand, Most Worshipful Brother Carter put it very well. There are brothers out there that are just seeking sanctuary. When he said that, I went, I'm glad he said it. There's guys that just want to come in the lodge, just sit and watch. The TV's off. You're not hearing noises. You're in a quiet place that you feel comfortable. And we got to say to these younger guys, if you don't want to roll in anything, we understand. And if you want to just please come and just watch and be a part of us and develop your friendships, I think we can make some inroads there. But technology, I mean, COVID showed us many things. As bad as it was, it showed us that we can meet virtually. And I'm not a big proponent of lodge meetings being virtual.
It was awful.
Yeah.
We're either, I know you were not.
I was
you here
not.
for
I
COVID?
came in 21, so it would have been. I was one of the first one. I think I was the first here
after
after
we
COVID.
reopened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
horrible.
weird time.
It was really horrible. It was in my opinion, it's probably been one of the worst detriments we've had, because everybody went home. We were told to stay home. Don't go to your offices, stay home, don't go anywhere, wear masks, wear gloves, all of this stuff. Well, people went home, and then, what's on Netflix? I'm gonna see. Well, they got into a series, or they got comfortable being at home. And the other problem was it happened starting in the late fall and winter, when we really shut it down. People just leaned more on these phones than they did anything else, and they moved away from a fellowship environment. It's taking us a long time to recover from that. And then you throw the digital age in there. It's a lot of things working against us, but we just have to keep our nose down and work harder to show there's something else, there's something more. And that's where the lodge experience, if you got a great lodge experience, people are going to talk. Your brothers are going to talk about it. If they're thinking about talking to somebody, well, what do you do? Oh man, we do this, we do that. It's great, I love going. But if you have a bad experience, they're still going to talk. And that's what we have to dispel with our membership. If you're unhappy, you're not always going to be 100% happy at every lodge meeting. It's never going to happen. But understand, when you mix again in the public, keep the lodge business within yourself. Don't talk about it, because the public hears it. Just like they hear the good, they hear the bad. We only want to portray the good. We don't want to portray the bad.
And I asked that technology question too, just thinking of my 12-year-old nephew, and I was at my folks' house a couple weeks ago, and just seeing how glued he was to his screen as a 12-year-old. In 7 years, how do we break that barrier down and really reach him? I mean, obviously, myself and my dad are doing, you know, the modeling of that, but I know there's a lot of other 12-year-olds out there just like him. So,
Well, one of the ways that we start dispelling that is this right here. Kudos to you for developing your podcast and taking it serious and being professional with it. And you put that out there and you just talk about the craft. That's why I wanted to come up here, is so that we talk about the craft, so we create that interest. This is can you imagine something like this 10 years ago?
I couldn't imagine it 4 years ago when I joined.
I mean, even when I started getting really active in 2017, no. It was a hard no.
Yeah, no, and so now these are popping up. I mean, I'm certain you've done your homework too. There are so many Masonic podcasts out there.
Yeah.
You can listen to them all, and I do. Jim Hall's a good friend. I've been on Jim's show, listened to it. Robbie Franks from up in the 11th District. I don't know if you know Robbie or not. Mm-hmm. He's up at Rubicon Lodge. He's got a beautiful study, and they'll sit and smoke a cigar and they talk masonry.
It's funny you say that. There's a humidor.
We do have the humidor over there.
4 feet over there.
Oh, looky there.
I didn't know that about this brother, but apparently we aspire to reach that
that status level.
That's right.
Yeah, it's neat to watch some of those guys do that. But yeah, these avenues that we're giving younger people an opportunity to listen to. Now we gotta figure out how to tailor it to them, get it to them so they'll listen, and take the time to do that. But how many guys? I listen to Masonic podcasts in the car when I'm traveling. That's when I'm traveling by myself, an hour, 2 hours. Man, I'm listening to a podcast. Sometimes I eat that up. Well, I'm certain that some of these guys that are considering the craft might be doing the same. I hope they are, and it piques more interest.
That's the principal reason that we've tried to tailor this to the general public and not put it behind some kind of a paywall where it's a members only kind of thing of the craft.
Absolutely, because I mean, wherever I go, I got these on. I got shirts on. I want people to know. I want people to see it. I want people to ask the questions. I want people to be interested. And doing things like this is a wonderful format for us to tell people why we love what we're doing. I can't imagine not being a Mason at this point in my life. I at one point I couldn't imagine being one, but now I can't. Man, I'm so blessed. We all are.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm right there with you. I mean, I've 4 years for me, a little bit over 4, and I can't imagine not being a Mason, you know.
Well, the interesting thing is we don't have to do this. We get to do this.
We have the opportunity to do this.
We get to do this. And you'll hear that a lot later.
I love it because, you know, I mean, like I said, I think about, you know, when my grandfather was diagnosed with prostate cancer, one of his big, you know, I hadn't become a Mason yet, and he started giving his rings to my mom. Yeah, I mean, that's all I wear is those. So, you know, we have the opportunity to do that and to carry on legacy, and I think that's just so
we are
so
given
fantastic.
this. We are given this. We get to do this, and when you share that enthusiasm with others, it can be infectious. And we have to. We can't be back in the stand back and wait for you to come see me. Now look, I don't want billboards up. That's not the way to do it.
I appreciate what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't like the standoffish posture either, but I also want somebody who's got a little. They're able to muster the courage to ask the question.
Yes, absolutely. But we got to be attentive to see that there's a guy that might be interested. You got to have that Masonic radar to say
it's always a two-way street.
Yeah, yeah. You know, the other thing that I remind anybody that I interview or go through the investigation process with, I tell them if you like to drive down the road and flip people off or cut people off and drive stupid fast or scream at kids' sporting events, and that's not the type of people we are, because everything you do, you're representing me, you're representing you, you're saying that he condones my actions. Mm-mm. I can't. So I tell these guys when I investigate them, make certain that you live your life so that nobody is going to take offense to what you do because you're representing a much bigger thing than yourself.
Yeah, so that the man next to you at the next meeting is proud.
That's right.
And not ashamed to, be affiliated.
Yep. I would hate to be walking down the street and in my shirts or hats or whatever, somebody say, "Man, you guys are a bunch of jerks. I had a guy that cut me off and I almost wrecked my car, and he had a Masonic license plate." Man, that would just kill me to have somebody say that about somebody in our fraternity. We hold each other to a high responsibility for that reason.
I'm not normally this quiet. You've given me so much to think about.
I know. I'm sitting there contemplating. I'm sitting there going, man.
I'm still processing some of the stuff that you were talking about when you were the DEO, frankly.
Yeah.
Just
Best job in the world.
Please don't think that I was not paying attention, but my mind started racing about things that we could be doing
here.
Right. Exactly.
Right here.
Yeah, there's actionable stuff in there that is kind of taking about 50% of my processing power right now.
Being a DEO was the greatest gig. I loved being a DEO. And from day one, when I was giving a talk, I never stood up at my seat. I'm out on the floor and I walk the room. I still do this every time I speak in any lodge. I walk the room because, after about 10 minutes of talking, the guy's posterior starts getting numb and he's starting to zone out. But if you're walking around the room, he's worried you're going to stop next to him and ask him a question, so he's going to pay attention. It's an old teaching tactic. You keep moving and keep everybody interesting. But you also got to know that you can get long in the tooth, and that's not a good thing either. Have substance to your talks. But I loved being a DEO. I kept everybody. I didn't. I think maybe once a year did I do a talk that was a Grand Lodge talk. I never used the MSA bulletins. I would listen to everything from PBS to National Geographic. I would listen to shows to get the meat and to get some type of idea that I needed to talk about. I looked for, I would search through books to find a subject that I could take and run with myself. I was my own AI, if you will. And I would just take those talks and I would make interaction with everybody. I'd ask them what they thought about this or what they think about that. What can we do with this? And those applications to our work and to our fellowship. That's why I say I loved being a DEO.
I have seen that role, and I'm like, that does look fun.
It does.
The DEO looks really fun. Like the district deputy feels like they have all the responsibility, but the DEO is the one that gets to go and have the fun.
Yeah, it's changed a little bit over the last few years. We're putting a lot more work on the DEOs to train and to educate more, because I think there's a lot of brethren out there that are looking for more education, and there's a need to help teach some of the code, to teach some of the officer's handbook. Our decorum comes out of there. And, so those things are important, but every once in a while you just got to have that fun night. Right Worshipful Brother Chad Kopinski, he's down in 17th District. He came up with this lodge in a box. He had a box of random things in it, and he would say, for his talk that night, he'd put the box out, and he would make one or two brothers come up and pick an item out of that box to say how it applies to masonry, and make them take it wherever. It could be a book, a shoe, a candle, anything. What's the tie? And you can constantly change this. You can make it something every meeting. The box is out, put a lid on it so nobody can see what's in there, and you change those things. Put headphones in there. What does it mean?
Wow, my mind is racing with that right now. It's like literally I'm sitting there
I'm also the joke guy, and I really want to invite you down. Every now and again, Worshipful Brother Mark Craig will dust off his yellow brick road dance that he does for a lodge education. And ever since you said move around the lodge, I want you to see this.
I would love to. I would love to.
So I'm going to have him put that on the calendar, and I'm going to make sure that you're invited down.
Yeah, we're going to definitely do that because.
But just lodge in a box it could go on for years. And you get guys coming in there that now you're pulling them out of their shell. Some of these guys, and don't embarrass anybody. Certainly don't want to do that. So the first few times you do it, you want to get creative with the person maybe you're asking to talk about it. But when you do this for a while, you've got kind of a twofold thing going there. You're tying masonry to an object, and you've got a guy that's coming at, okay, I'll talk about it. But it was a great idea. I think and you can become much more esoteric with it, or you can focus on it more and make it have a deeper meaning with some of these guys. Could probably really surprise you what they come up with.
Yeah, the man to my right.
I was gonna say,
the man to my right here.
Our producer
could pull some things out and make some connections, probably.
I was to say, I saw his eyes light up when you mentioned esoteric, and boy, he could probably go off on that for hours. I do believe.
Probably.
Yeah, he's nodding. Yeah. But no, I mean that to me, I love that idea. It's so simple, and again, it's one of those fun things that the DEOs get to do. Mm-hmm. I think it's just one of the great things we can take to our lodges. And I think, again, it's that belonging that comes with it too. That's what I spent my career doing, is creating belonging experiences for folks to be well. And this is a part of wellness, really.
Sure is.
It's it just gets to the heart of it. I mean, lots of different types of wellness you could put in there, but I'd like to think we do create that holistic wellness.
Mm-hmm.
So. Boy, one of the questions that I think I'm going to let Matt ask this one.
No, I was going to go a different route if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Mike, we heard shotgun style your Masonic journey, and I loved every minute of it. Right? Who are you outside of Masonry?
Well, I've been in the construction industry since 1983. I've been a director of purchasing at Claypool Electric since 2005. I'm in a few months into my 21st year there. It's a stressful job. I work 50, 60 hours a week, balancing that with being a Grand Lodge officer, and also you got to balance your family there, your wife, your kids, take care of a home.
Any secrets to doing that?
My Google Calendar is probably my most precious tool. If I lose it, I'm in trouble.
Are you a time blocker?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I do, when you get to this level and everybody wants a little piece of your time and wants you to be at things, and I would love to be at all of them, it's hard. And if I whip out my phone and I go to my calendar, I've learned not to do that anymore. But if I do, you always have somebody looking over your shoulder saying, hey, you're not doing anything this night. Well, I've learned all my important dates, they're all in there. I've learned that every once in a while, about twice a month, there's a block that says hold, do not schedule, hold, do not schedule. So it shows as an event. And that's my time for my wife and I, or that, with our friends or with our kids. Taboo for me, number one, I will not do anything on the holidays, and I will not do anything on the second Sunday. Second Sunday is reserved for my family. We started that, when the kids had moved away, we wanted them to come back once a month, just to have dinner with mom and dad, second Sundays. And, relating back to when Right Worshipful Brother Newton gave me a phone call, he was traveling from Pittsburgh back to Wilmington. He says, hey, we're on our way back home. I want to know if you and Becky had the opportunity tomorrow to spend a little bit of time with Sharon and I. And I'm like, that second Sunday, that I can't do it on that. And I explained to him, this is my day for family. I can't do that. Well, I stonewalled him. I stonewalled the Grandmaster, not knowing what he was going to ask me. I don't know what he wants, but you're not doing it tomorrow. So we ended up doing it a couple of days later. But I have to block. The calendar is probably my most important tool. It's hard to balance all of that. But in order to stay sane, I have to.
Do you miss having any kind of spontaneity?
I'm so focused on so many things that when you stop and you go, man, you haven't paid attention to this. It caught me up, this summer. I realized that, man, I've got some yard work that's just, the house is just looking nasty. No, I can't do it today. I've got to do it tomorrow. And then you wait for tomorrow and it's pouring down rain and you can't do it. And those things are difficult just to say to my wife, hey, let's go do this. It's harder and harder, especially now. You become pretty popular. But I remind myself that this is a finite journey. I'm blessed to be able to do this. And I tell you, I could never do this if Becky wasn't with me all the time. She travels with me 50% of the time or more. Every district we're in and every event we're at, she is with me. Installations, she goes with me. She enjoys it as well because she's made so many friends. But spontaneity is just to say, get up on a Sunday morning and say, hey, let's go have breakfast. I get that maybe once every 4 or 5 months. I don't get very many opportunities to that, but this journey does have an end date to it. I think once you're a past grandmaster, you're always past grandmaster, and there's still things everybody still wants you to be around, but it's more at your schedule then. I love the fraternity so much, but I do have to be cautious and give Becky that time. It's important, but my kids are grown, and we don't have grandkids yet. As I roll my eyes.
I was going to
Looking
say
forward.
the eye roll that nobody might see.
Well, Becky and I both have lamented that our daughter and son-in-law, that they bought their house and everything's settling more and more. They may have children, they may not. Who knows? That's their decision. But we both said jokingly that she's probably going to tell us that she's pregnant and the baby will be coming right after I become Grand Master if I'm so elected. It's like,
Murphy's Law.
yeah.
It always ends up that way. Ends up.
I'm not going to say one word. We'll carry on. We will do knock wood. We'll do whatever it takes at that point.
Well, I mean, you've already kind of laid out that family is the priority, right?
Very much so.
So it's just one more thing. You have to adapt.
I am so blessed that my family understands what I do, understands the importance to me, and then that I understand the importance to the craft. But they're so supportive and they're excited.
Well, it seems like they're along for the journey to the extent that you can bring them.
Yes. And that's why I really want my sons and my best friend to join this for a couple of years with us as well. Hopefully we were able to make that happen.
What about, we touched on work, we touched on family. What about hobbies, music? It doesn't sound like there's a lot of time for these things, but if you had the time.
Well, I do carve out some time. Becky and I do enjoy going. We go once a year down to Kentucky. We go to bourbon hopping, and I've got a big collection of bourbon. I enjoy bourbon.
Would you like one now?
No, because I have a responsibility to drive still about 35 miles back home. I will have one when I get home.
Understand.
Interestingly, my wife can't stand cigars. I enjoy a cigar, so I cater to my wife. There's an occasional weekend that the Grand Lodge officers travel that is a stag weekend, and I will have a cigar then. And occasionally I have cigars out in the backyard with a glass of bourbon when she's with her girlfriends or when she's doing something. But then it's a shower, mouthwash, toothbrush, mouthwash, just to keep mama happy. But I do enjoy a good cigar. I like to golf. I don't, because golf takes a lot of time. That's been really hard to have those. I have a golf outing every year for Grand Lodge. But right now the hobbies haven't been as available to me. I enjoy, as in my 20s and 30s, if you asked me to read a book, I had zero interest in it. because I read specifications. I'm on a computer 10, 12 hours a day. I don't want to read anymore. I just want to zone out. But I love, they're useless reads, but they're fast reads. I love Brad Thor, Dan Brown, David Baldacci, Nelson DeMille, the Jack Reacher series, Vince Flynn. All of those, I enjoy it. I can read those books in 3 or 4 days and just, I'm excited by them, and then I put it away. I haven't been able to, I've got so many books piled up right now that I haven't been able to read that I look forward to being able to read. But when it comes to music, Becky and I are audiophiles. You guys are too young to remember a record store. This was back when vinyls was, that was all we had. And you had 8 tracks, and then it went to cassettes, then CDs and all that, yada yada. She worked at Buzzard's Nest, was the name of the record store. It was a chain around Central Ohio. We love all kinds of music, and music is constantly on, period. I have to have music. I'll go crazy if I don't have music. And last year, every year in the 8th District, they do a Masonic Education Day. And it's coming up in January. I think it's 22nd, 3rd, or 4th, somewhere through there. And every Grand Lodge officer gives a talk, whatever they choose to talk on. So you have 12 Masonic talks. It takes 3-4 hours. And it's, like I said, it's in the 8th District. This year it's in Yellow Springs. And we get to talk about whatever we want. Well, last year I talked about the sound of silence. And yet you don't have to tie it to Masonry, but I did. And I basically said, music is in every part of our lives. As an infant, we're sang lullabies to us. As kids, we learn, music through, we're influential. You get into your teenage years, you find out a station, whether you like country and western, whether you like rock, whether you like metal, whether you like whatever. I like it all. My wife only likes old country. I like all of it. But if you didn't, when you have that music in college, it moves you. If you think about Saturday mornings in Central Ohio, it's Tibital. And if you didn't have that music, would you still be as excited? Probably not. You think about the wedding march, and as a father walking your daughter down that wedding march and hearing that and the emotions that come with that. And then you think about the, you remember when the golfer Payne Stewart passed away, and there's a picture of the bagpiper in his footsteps, and he's piping out Payne Stewart. What an emotion that invokes. And the Moody Blues, Days of Future Past. The end of it is called a late lament. And it's their spoken word at the end of the song. Do you have any idea of the song I'm talking about?
I do not.
I know the Moody Blues, but I don't know that song.
Right.
Days of Future Past. Nights in White Satin. And at the end of it, there's this spoken word. And so I challenge you to listen to it. But it just crescendos and builds, and it's symphonic, and boom, at the end of the song. And it's just powerful. And I'm thinking, man, there needs to be a way that we could take that type of a building sound, and if you think of your initiation, and when the man's at the altar, and we're at the end, and it builds, and the lights come up, and the blindfold comes off. That boom! What an impact that would be.
Yeah, and frankly, I've not seen ritual work with it includes music. Now,
we used to have a musician in my lodge.
Same, and
Yeah.
funnily enough, Chris and I actually, in going through our archives, found some old reel-to-reels.
Oh, nice.
And we're trying to have that digitized so that we can actually
Employ them.
Yeah.
and potentially learn them.
And save them.
Probably not myself.
Yeah.
but have somebody learn them so that we can begin using that again.
Yeah, we had an organist for a long time, and he played throughout the degrees. It was beautiful to have it there. But my point was with the music, if the music is gone in our world becomes very cold, very stale, very just an unfeeling place. My tie to masonry was, if we don't have masonry, it becomes even more cold, more sterile.
Mm. Wow.
It's very true.
It's 100% true.
I'll email you the PowerPoint and the talk that went over it. So you can see it. You can use it if you want to use it. If you don't, that's fine too.
Oh, I think.
But anyways,
yeah,
that education day, that's a cool day. But when it comes to music, we listen to everything. I mean, it's always on. My wife is a concert junk. Going to concerts is her gig. I got to see. I think the last one that I went with her, we got to see the Black Keys in Indianapolis.
Nice.
When we were there for Supreme Council, we took a break and we wanted to see the Black Keys because they were playing right behind the hotel, which was great.
That's awesome. And it was downtown Indianapolis.
Yes.
Yeah, they get some good places down there.
Yeah, this was an outdoor amphitheater.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was a last minute decision. But it was right there by Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah, I know right
between
where
it
it's at.
and the downtown Hilton. It's right behind it. We saw the Black Keys. She just saw Elvis Costello a few weeks ago. But we've seen everything from Randy Travis to Judas Priest, Van Halen to we've seen Rush 5 times. My goodness, we've gone to a lot of concerts. I could talk about that, and she would talk about it even longer.
Yeah, I'm with your wife when it comes to the country music. I love my 90s and before.
Yes.
After that, it's pop.
Yeah, the newer
it's
stuff.
pop music.
Yeah, the newer stuff. I'm not as big a fan of. I do like Chris Stapleton.
But that's a throwback.
Yeah.
Right. That's a different sound.
Yeah, but I'm not as big. New country is not my gig. I like old stuff. I'm back to Hank Sr. and the old country. I'll listen to it all the time. I'll put classical music on in my office. I was listening to Seal before I came up here in my office. I listen to everything. We've got on Fridays 2 apprentices that work in the prefab shop normally come up and collect all the trash, and I had Seal going. Now Seal was popular in the 90s.
Yeah. I remember that.
I've got Seal going in this. He's 18, 19, 20 at the latest. Comes in and grabs my trash. And he stops this. Man, what's that music playing there? And I said, Seal. He said, Seal? I said, Seal, Seal. He goes, that's cool. And I'm like, this was music before you were born, young man. But so I said, do yourself a favor and pull it up on your phone and listen to it. That was at 2:00 today. I left my office 5, and they were going out. I had gone down to the shop about 4:30, and he looked at me and he just gave me a big thumbs up. he had it in his earbuds, and I'm like,
that was when music still had soul. It hadn't been compressed and thrown through a digitizer and auto-tuned. And
I was listening to Nat King Cole prior to listening to Seal. That's the music I listened to today. It was Nat King Cole, Seal, Triumph's greatest hits. I just bounce around. So we listen to everything.
Boy, that sounds like my playlists today. I went from Korn to Kenny Chesney to Weird Al Yankovic. So
that's pretty eclectic.
I'm pretty sure I just got whiplash hearing that shuffled playlist.
Becky made a playlist for me. It's called Stuff to Share with Mike on Spotify, and I'm listening to it all. And it's a lot of covers. And Incubus, Let's Go Crazy by Prince.
Ooh.
yes.
Have you heard it?
I have heard that one.
Some of the more modern covers
gosh,
It's so good.
I mean, that's one that'll get your butt moving.
Ironically enough, my favorite cover is "The Sound of Silence." That most recent,
Disturbed?
that most recent one. It's, I know it's a completely different sound, but it's equally moving in a very different way.
Disturbed is an interesting group. We've seen them a couple times. The big concert at Crew Stadium. Sonic Temple.
Yeah.
And to hear that live, that was really cool.
Oh wow, yeah.
And while we were waiting for them to come on, the crowd it was right after Chester Bennington had passed away.
Yeah.
and the whole crowd, they were just waiting. They all started singing.
In the end.
In the end.
Yes, and it was just made the hair on your arms stand.
Yep.
It was really cool. Sonic Temple is great, but sitting on them metal stands all day long for 4 days is a little bit much for me. But in Foo Fighters, that's we're big fans of Foo.
No Tool. I'm slightly disappointed.
No, I don't. No, I like Tool. Don't get me wrong, I do.
Tool is a good band on the A sides. The B sides
Yeah.
are a little hard for me.
Yeah, and this year's Sonic Temple lineup isn't that great. It's not for the money that you got to pay, and we're going to pass on it. But we saw Rush in the old Cooper Stadium where the Clippers played, the old one. That was cool.
That's awesome.
And there's some national cover bands out there. They're pretty daggone good too.
Mm-hmm. Man, I'm just thinking about all that music right now. And
Pinball Wizard right now, just right between
Oh,
the ears. Right between
Pinball
the
Wizard.
ears. Yep.
In high school, I was a huge Styx fan.
Oh.
First concert I saw was Kiss, 1976, Vets Memorial on the Isle. 12 years old, scared the crap out of me.
Really?
Gene Simmons and all that blood. Yeah, it was impactful. It was great.
So I've never been a Kiss fan. Not out of
Really?
any dislike for them. There's just this weird juxtaposition for me. The image that they portray versus the music that I hear. I don't get. I don't
There's
get
the
it.
door right there. I mean,
I didn't say I didn't like the Beatles. I mean, come on.
Back then, that was junior high school days. Members of the Kiss Army, and man, we were all about it. I got to see Styx at the Convo in Athens on the Pieces of 8 tour. I was a big Styx fan, and then they did Mr. Roboto, and I kind of walked away.
well, then Kiss had that period too where they tried to go makeup free and it didn't.
They kind of went mainstream, and
Beth.
yeah. Now, see, I was a drummer. I was a drummer in high school. For a while, my senior year, I was considering going to OU on a music scholarship, but you're only going to teach or play, and neither one of those make a lot of money, and they're not very safe, so I didn't do that. And I still have a drum set at home. I've got a 9-piece Gretsch.
Oh wow.
Oh, nice.
I don't get to play very often.
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, I don't. And I keep buying stuff for it. And, Becky just got me a double pedal for a single bass, and I'm a great windshield or a steering wheel drummer. That's about all the drumming I get to do anymore.
Could you bring it to Grand Lodge this next year?
Yeah, with everything I got to take to Grand Lodge, no.
The guy's made 11 trips in and out. Who is this?
Yeah, why is he doing this?
But could you imagine that opening though?
That would be pretty epic.
The interesting thing is Most Worshipful Brother Newton is a drummer. Most Worshipful Brother Dickershide is a drummer. Very good drummer.
We need a bass player.
Yeah. We have the capability, but we're not building a band right now. We've got a lot of percussion happening.
Yeah. Well, 38 Special had 2 drummers. Why not 3?
That is
Fair.
very true.
That's fair. One better, right?
Right.
One question I know that Matt likes to ask is, when you're wearing a Masonic ring, is it points in or points out?
Points in. Mine's always points in. I'm not a showboat. I don't show off. Masons, as a whole, we're cut the same way. We have the hardest time saying, I need something. So to me, when the point's out, you're showing off. I know there's guys that, and it's personal opinion, but this is my 33rd ring. Actually, it is a everyday 33rd ring. It's not my actual 33rd good gold ring, because I'm hard on rings. This is a stainless steel gold ring. and it was a fraction of the cost of my good gold one. But I wear it every day. The 33 point. So I can see. I look at it. There are many times that every once in a while you got the anxiety builds or something's going and you just your eye catches it and it just calms you down a little bit. But it's always to remind me of my humility, the opportunity, and that I represent so many more people.
And that's actually similar to my thought, right? You ask a dozen people, you'll probably get 4 or 5 different answers, or for at least the reason. You know what I mean? But I'm often fairly introspective, and it reminds me of what it is that I need to be doing, right? And make sure that my priorities are in order.
You know, I don't think I've ever had the feeling of I don't know what it means to be a Mason. That's always, it's in your heart. It always is. And I don't really need to be reminded that I'm a Mason. But there's just a few times that when I look at my ring, regardless of what ring I wear, I had my grandfather's black signet ring. My dad gave that to me the night that I was raised. And I wore it for a long time. And then that black onyx got chipped. And I felt horrible. So I started trying to find jewelers that could repair it. And there was nobody locally. And the one company the jeweler that I found that could said, yeah, just mail it to us and we'll fix it. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And so when I wear that now, that chip in the onyx reminds me that I'm still working on my ashlar, my personal ashlar. So it does it has a little bit more meaning that ties me to masonry and my grandfather. But I'm like I said, I'm kind of hard on rings, so I did this one for my everyday all the time. Now, and I'll be honest with you, I did mean to put my good gold ring on for tonight, but I knew I'd be at work all day, and like tomorrow I'll wear it all day. Tomorrow I wear it for just my Masonic events, but for every day it's this. But it's always there to remind me of the honor that I have.
It's a good answer.
I love that one. That black onyx, my grandfather gave me a black onyx one as well, and then his dad had a red garnet that I wear very sparingly because that band is very thin nowadays. So, and I'm always afraid I'm just gonna smack it. And
I can't imagine not at this point in my life not having a Masonic ring on my finger. If I take it off just to wipe underneath or whatever, it's right back on. I worry. And sometimes your fingers will thin, and they slide a little bit quicker. I'm always, so you'll see me kind of keeping my fist because I wear it. It's not coming off. But same with the wedding band. I can't imagine not having it on.
I'm the exact same way. It's like if I forget them in the morning, it feels odd all day.
I don't ever take them off. Never. They're on all the time. If I take one off to put a different one on, it's immediate.
Okay.
My rings never come off, unless if I'm doing something if we're doing wood,
yeah,
cutting trees or whatever, or working on the tractor or whatever. Yeah, I will take it off then, but it's immediately back on. When I worked for Ross Labs, I had to take them off when I entered the plant. You couldn't have jewelry on, so I would put them on my key ring, and it just destroyed. I hated it that I had to take my wedding band off. It made me crazy. My wife said, well, why don't we get our rings tattooed on our fingers? I said, I'll keep the wedding band on.
I was a huge fan when the silicone started coming out because of the exact reasons that you're talking about, right? Between working out, working on things that you would damage it, having to go through, for my vocation, going through metal detectors and everything, it was a loss risk a lot of times. And so it was, when the silicone happened, I was all on board. It feels kind of chintzy, if you will. Like it doesn't feel the same as the real one, but I can maintain consistency with it. And to me, that's more important.
Yeah.
So a lot of traditions will tell you that your 33rd ring goes on right with your wedding ring. And not me. It's here. A lot of guys do that. I'm not comfortable with it. This is a bond. This is a vow. This is a commitment. This does not get replaced, or something sitting on it. Just not me.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I because it is. You're right.
They're both lifelong commitments, right? But they're very different.
Very
in
different.
kind.
Absolutely.
And well, yeah, and I
I can tell you
this
which one's coming first.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, but
Oh.
she's right beside me, and that's what makes it nice.
That's really cool. I like that she's been there for the journey, and she's still there in the journey.
In the journey, yeah.
You know, there was a time, you know, when I was a lodge officer, a master of the lodge, DEO or deputy. The only times she traveled with me when I was a DEO or deputy was to the Grand Master's Banquet, maybe Grand Lodge. Even then, she didn't go. So when we started this journey in the Grand Lodge, she's with me every weekend. We're gone from January through the end of June until now. When you become elected, it's even more it's all year round. Wherever we go, whatever district we're in, whatever reception, whatever reconsecration, whatever conference, Supreme Council, Ohio Council deliberation, everything. She is with me all those weekends. Now the ladies go do things. They get to have fun. We continue to work, but she travels with me all the time. I'm blessed to have her as a travel partner, and that I couldn't do it if it wasn't for her.
What if I'm hearing you correctly? It almost seems like you guys spend more time now than when you were at the district level.
Oh, we do, and we stay in a hotel room 55, 60 nights a year.
That's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, it's hard to keep up with those. But we travel with special pillows for our necks, and because some of those pillows you get stink.
Oh yeah.
They're the
But
worst.
we learned a long time ago first thing you do is you pull right up to the front door, you get the cart and you load the cart. You're not schlepping everything in, and we pack heavy anyways. We take more than we ever need because there's nothing worse than getting somewhere and going, oh, I forgot this. And I had one night that I forgot my black shoes. I had at 10 o'clock at night. I was going to a Meijer because it was the only thing open to buy a pair of black dress shoes. Oh, those were horrible. Those were horrible.
If you've got luck like me, they had every size but yours.
Yeah, no, I found them and I was able to get through the day, but we just weren't close enough to get back home. And when we go to Grand Lodge, I'm taking 2 suits, I'm taking 2 tuxes, and I'm taking 2 morning suits. I'm redundant everything because we're at Kalahari this year, and that's 3.5 hours away.
Yeah.
And you're not going out, you're not going down the street to anywhere and buying a morning suit. And we just pack heavy, but you learn how to work hotels all the time.
That sounds like me. I'm kind of a little bit of a fashionista, if anybody can't tell, but I pack way more than I need because I like to have options.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the luggage that it's a duffel bag, but
Yes.
you lay it all out.
I just got one of those.
I got one too.
Love it.
We take off for Florida middle of January, go down to the Florida visitations, and I bought it specifically to see how it was going to work for that. Mine feels like it might be a little bit too long for that. You set it down in to make certain you're compliant. Well, I'm not going to set it down in there.
No, I didn't do that either,
I'm
but
just
it
going to
fit.
have it on my shoulder, but I'm going to see how it works out because I've wanted one of these for a while. I took a suit, I put it in there, I pulled it all up. 4 or 5 hours later, took it out, looked fine. So we'll see.
I took one to New Jersey. Actually, it was the same day as Grand Lodge was getting over because I had to go to New Jersey right after that, and worked perfect.
I'm anxious to see how it holds up.
And it holds a lot too. It holds a lot. So
I haven't tested the water's too heavy with that yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than the checked bag disappearing.
Right.
So if you can get it in the carry-on, get it in the carry-on.
I'll take the essentials and make certain I'm covered, and then we're still going to check one suitcase because, like I say, half my suitcase is 2 pillows.
I've stayed at enough hotels to know exactly why you've got pillows. I mean, it's there's the Goldilocks thing, right? You're not getting the baby bear pillow. It's either going to be really overstuffed or it's going to be as thin as could be.
Yeah, no, you get used to a certain pillow. That's what you want.
Yeah,
that's how we travel.
same here.
And we do. As we travel, I have a bottle carrier. Actually, I have what we've nicknamed. We have a couple things. We have Fred and Barney. One year we got as a gift a collapsible insulated picnic basket cooler. It's got a zipper top, so we'll put waters, Propel, water, tea, and then we've got totes in there that have all your, just basically a medicine cabinet. That's Fred. Everything goes in Fred. Well, Barney is then, if you go to, you get like a Pelican case, you can take the foam out. Well, Barney holds 3 bottles, 2 glasses, 2 tasting glasses. So we take Fred and Barney with us as well.
I love it.
I hadn't thought of repurposing a Pelican case for that, but I'm very much understanding.
I can see the wheels in your mind turning right now.
Well, at least one. The other one's still stuck on the DEO stuff.
Well,
I'll get there.
Nice.
Oh my goodness. This is one of my favorite questions to ask. What were you thinking right before you knocked on the door for your EA degree? What was going through your mind?
You're going back 20 years. Well, as I said, you're taken in, you're put in a room by yourself, and you're told to put on these clothes you don't know where they came from, and why are they doing this? And everybody jokes about different things when it comes to the night of your initiation. But my thoughts were, one, my dad was out there, and he's going to experience this with me. The other was I just thinking of my grandpa. I was thinking of those two things. But there is so much apprehension to that time, not knowing what you're going to experience. But I did have a kind gentleman. His name was Paul Scholl. He put it, and at the time he was in his mid 80s. Smart. He knew our ritual book back and forwards. Put his hand on my shoulder and says, "You're not going to go through anything that everybody else in this room has gone through." And my mind went, "Yeah, you guys are some brave souls, because I've got an idea what you're going to do to me." It wasn't even close to what was going to happen to me, but you're thinking of the hazing things that go on in fraternities, and I thought, oh, this is, I was very apprehensive.
I can relate. I think I was a little apprehensive too. Again, my grandfather was going through my mind. Not my dad yet, because he always is, but he wasn't a Mason yet. So I was one of those that got to raise my own dad, which was kind of cool. So
I raised my dad in a rusty nail degree.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I did that when I was master. I raised my dad with the rusty nail degree. Have you guys ever seen the rusty nail?
No, but so my second year in the East,
second year.
we were trying to get it off the ground, and it unfortunately never materialized. But it's something that we're eager to do, and
It's another one of those things to get some people back.
Yeah.
That's exactly why we want to do it. We want to drum up. We want to get some interest in it and see how many seats we can fill.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I did it my year as master. It was cool. I think it's the last time my lodge has done it was when I did it. I don't know. I don't remember them ever doing it since, but it's a great thing. But I got to do my dad. My dad was mad at me that I made him. I said, "You're doing this." No. I said, "Dad, you don't have." My dad just wanted to be one of those Masons that wanted the sanctuary. My dad is not a public speaker. He was never going to be, and he didn't want that in lodge. But he just wanted the lodge experience. So I made him go through the degree. After it was done, he was thankful that he did. I'm pretty certain, but at the time, he wasn't happy with me. I was making him do it.
Isn't that how it always is, though? Anytime you're reaching for that next thing, you're always glad when you're on the other end of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, there's always apprehension. You're getting out of your comfort zone. You're doing something that maybe you aspire to and haven't done before, but then there's that relief, and you always have that bounce in your step when it's like, oh my God, I did that.
Yeah.
And the sense of accomplishment, again, I think you and I are kind of kindred spirits. I'm more of an introvert. The thought of doing this 4 years ago, just what we're sitting here doing right now, I would have like walked right out the door. I said, "Nah, I'm not doing anything like that." But
It's amazing what we can accomplish when we just put ourselves out there.
it is. I would have never thought I'd get to the East, but here we are in year 2. So, but I can't say rusty nail degree. That is a charge for your membership committee. So
See what I can do.
we'll make that happen this year, I think.
Nice.
If you could give, I like this one too. If you could give one piece of advice to a young Mason, what would that advice be?
It is not given enough. Stay with it. Things will come. Just Benjamin Franklin said, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn. Get involved." That's the biggest piece of advice. Get involved. Ben Franklin nailed it, in my opinion.
On a couple of different things, actually.
Yeah, well, just a few.
Wow. I mean, no, that's powerful. What a great time we've had. So
I'm so appreciative that you reached out and asked me to do this. I love the opportunities. Number one, to do things like this. Number two, to spend time with my brothers. It's a blessing to me. It's been a little bit since I've been here. Been a couple of years since I've been in this building.
Actually, before we send you out, because our very first episode focused on the history of this building.
Yeah.
Do you have any first impressions about this particular building that you would want to share, or even a favorite memory here?
Well, I got two. Number one, I did two of my chapter degrees and all of my council degrees here. I did the rest of them in Lancaster and Logan. All my commander degrees were in Lancaster. Past master's degree was in Logan. But so I had that. Art was here and Randy, and it was nice. And I went through it with Colton Holla. I don't know if you know Colton Holla or not. He's now a district deputy of the 13th district, but he belongs here in his York Rite degrees. And the other memory, just a little bit longer. We had a jeweler in Lancaster that knew I bought a lot of things for Becky there. Becky liked their stuff, and they knew I was a Mason. So anytime that this jewelry store would get in something Masonic, they're calling me. And so I'd go down and look at it, and I'd tell them, they're just pins. They really have no value. And if you don't want them here, give them to me. I'll take them up to the lodge, and I'll give them to Eastern Star. I'll give them the White Shrine. That was common. Well, they called me one day and said, "We really need you to come down and look at this. We have a ring that's got an eagle on it, and we got this jewel that's all gold, and this whole box of all these other things." Okay, I'll be down. I work in town. I'm a mile and a half from the jewelry store that I go to, and I go in, and David shows me these. The first thing I see is this Scottish Rite ring, and it's a beautiful ring, double-headed eagle. It's big. It's black. It's gold with a black background and a double-headed eagle and a diamond in the center. And my eye right now went to that because I was looking for a new Scottish Rite ring, and he said the family would like $500 for the ring. I said, "I'll take it." And I look on the inside, and you probably won't know the name, but the name Vernon Vermillion was in there. You know the name?
I know the last name.
So, well, that's interesting. And then there was all these pins. There was ritual books for Rainbow and for Eastern Star. So it was a Masonic family. And then there's this leather case. And I opened up this case and I go, "Oh, okay, poker just changed." He says, "What is that?" He said, "That's a past master's jewel. It's layered in gold. Not many lodges gave past master's jewels because they're worth anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000. And he said the family doesn't know what to do with this, and nobody wants it, and they were just going to melt it down." I said, "Please do not do that. That is not what this should happen with this." I said, and at the time I didn't know the connection, and I saw that it said Newark 97 on it, and I said, "Let me reach out. I know I know the guys there." I called Tom and I said, "Hey, I've got a past master's jewel. What can you tell me about it?" I said, the name on it is Vernon Vermillion, and it's 1957. And he knew. So just by happenstance, a couple days later at work, I had bought the ring, and I was wearing the ring, and I get a call from a guy that I graduated from high school with, who was in DeMolay with me. He says, hey, you bought a ring down at the jewelry store. I'm thinking, yeah. He says, well, that was Jennifer's grandfather. Well, Jennifer was a rainbow sweetheart at the same time. I said, are you, Lou, are you wanting this back? He said, no, we're just excited that you got it. So I reconnected with him and told the story, and I said, we've got Vernon's past master's jewel. And I made the connection with the lodge and with the family, and we brought all that up here to the lodge and presented that jewel back to the lodge. So I think it's hanging, I'm not positive.
I believe it is, or we're working on getting something made for it, aren't we?
Yeah, there's a couple of those projects underway.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff is right now in the archives.
You guys, we had a dinner, you had the family
Yeah.
in, we had a presentation. The family was just flattered that, that they were welcomed back in, and they were just taken aback, and I know the lodge was happy to get that past master's jewel back,
Yeah.
which was, so that's my two ties to this building here.
That's an incredible story.
Those are great ties.
Yeah, and the fact that all materialized in a handful of days, and just some local connections and some phone calls.
It was just by sheer happenstance that a guy in DeMolay who had married a rainbow sweetheart, that was her grandfather's ring, and I wear his ring occasionally. I don't now that I have
Right.
Yeah.
a different ring, but I wore that all the time, and so I probably will try to figure out a way that I can wear a third ring, because there was an important tie there.
Yeah.
Where that when that Grand Lodge.
Boy, doesn't that sum up a lot of what we've talked about? Just kind of how big but how small the fraternity feels a lot of times, where it is kind of that really 3 degrees of separation there almost.
It's a good closeness. It's a
It
good
is.
closeness.
That closeness is always there. But again, Right Worshipful Brother McCandlish, it has been our honor to have you here at Newark
my honor.
97. Thank you so much for coming out and spending time with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we look forward to just connecting more in the future too. I think hopefully this continues to grow. I think our numbers have actually been growing each month over month. So we're
It's fantastic, and I hope it does for you. I really like the format. You guys have got a good thing going here, and I look forward to the guests that you're going to have on in the future. If anything I can do to help in the future, please let me know.
absolutely we will. Again, thank you for the kind words, and just thank you so much for being here with us today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. I look forward to pressuring Mark Craig into doing that district education program to get you down here again.
Let me know. Let me know.
And with that, I'll let you send us out.
Well, I just want to say thank you for letting me on. Remember, this is a journey that we get to take. We don't have to take it. Just enjoy the journey and enjoy every minute of it.